With the help of the database, I can overcome from all this drawback. So that is why I'm discussing the concept called database. How my database should look like is what I will call it as defining a database. With the help of the query, I will be trying to interact with the database is what you need to understand. So who will understand that query what I have told? So one software is required to understand what is that I need. Hello everyone, I welcome all of you to the first session on database management system. My dear students, in the last session I have given you the clear idea how exactly this subject flows and how many units you have, what is the topic that you will learn in this subject, right? So it's time for all of us to start the subject in detail from the scratch. Yes, without wasting much of your time, let me get into the subject. So guys, in this session, I will be mainly concentrating on 4 important topics. The first topic is going to be what exactly the database is all about. So I will be discussing in detail what is database. Yes, you already have come across with the word called database management system. I want all of you to please stress on that. So because database is different, database management system is different. So fine, I will be discussing that too in detail. Then followed by, I will be discussing some of the important definitions that you should have. I will call it as a basic terminologies you should know before we start this subject. So I will be discussing that too with an example in this session. This is the agenda for the day. Yes, without wasting much of your time, let me get into the subject. So guys, what is that I have in the box? Yes, the first thing that I have is all about the database. So before I explain all these points, whatever I have in the slide for all of you, let me just give a thought to understand why should I have the database. Imagine I have a college. So in that college, just imagine I don't have any software to store my data. The first thing that you need to remember is I have 1,000 students. To store the information about all the 1,000 students, I will be creating the files, the normal hard copy files. I will create and I will store all the records and I will store in one particular room. So fine, I have stored in one particular room. Now, I have locked it with a simple lock or whatever the lock that you wanted to do it. Now, what happens is you will come for the report or you want that certificates back. What happens? I have thousands of files and you want that certificates immediately. Is it possible for me to go and access your file very quickly? No, it is not so easy task for me because I have 1,000 files. I have 1,000 students' files. I have to take time to search for your file. The main first important point that you need to remember. It is taking time. The second point, imagine the place where I have stored all your certificates, there will be a short circuit and there will be a fire and that records, whatever we had, we have lost it because of the fire. So there is no place to save your data safely. Suppose if I lost the data, I don't have any backup or I don't have any copy of it. This is the second thing that you need to think. Third thing, you will come and very arrogantly, sir, I need my records because I have completed my schooling in your college or I have completed my education in your college. I need it immediately. With a rude voice, you will tell me. So you are my student and you are not supposed to speak like this is what I will think and I will not give you. What you will do, I will teach you a lesson for you. I know where you have kept and I will go there, I will break the lock and I will take the certificates without my knowledge. There is no security for the certificates what I have kept in my room. So this is the third drawback that I have. The fourth drawback that I have is you have given the certificates to me. Repeat, you have given the certificates to me. But I will start searching for it. I don't find it. because I'm a human being. I might not be accurate sometimes, but I have the certificates with me. What I will think is, I'm not getting it, it is lost. By thinking that it is lost, I will create one more copy of it. So that is going to be the duplicate of the certificates. Now, this duplicate is what I will call it as a redundancy. All these drawbacks, what I have, I repeat. Point number 1, duplicates of records. You cannot access it quickly, and there is no security, and there is no copy of it. So this is the drawback that I have if I store my data manually. So to solve this problem, I have the concept called database management system and database. So with this concept, with the help of the database, I can overcome from all this drawback. So that is why I'm discussing the concept called database. So now let's understand what is database. Hope you understood why should I use database. Now it's time for all of us to understand what is database. My dear students, the first and the foremost thing that you need to understand with respect to the database is all about, it is a collection of related data. Please understand, collection of related data. What is the meaning of it? So let's understand one by one. So first, you need to understand what is data. Data in the sense, it is a raw fact. What is the meaning of raw fact? Again, it's a new word. Unprocessed data is what I will call it as a raw fact. Say for example, I will take the attendance. That is the data. Then what is processed data? If you ask me, sir, how many number of people are present, then that is processed data. I'm performing some calculation on that data. So that is processed data. But if you don't process anything on that data, so that is what I will call it as a raw fact. So that is what I will call it as a data. So fine, I understood what is data. You have given related data. What is the meaning of it? Say for example, if I'm taking the attendance, I should just mark present or absent. I cannot just write there, oh, you had breakfast. What is the color of the dress that you're wearing? So what is that you're doing in the class? I cannot write all those things because it is irrelevant. So if you are collecting a data, it should be a related data. I cannot write anything which is not related. So that is the second thing that you need to understand. So if you have the data of related things, so you will group it together. That is what I will call it as a database. That is the first thing that you need to understand. Moving forward to the second point, what is that I have? Represents some aspects of the real world. If I'm taking some data and I'm storing it, so it represents some of the aspects of this real world. Whatever you guys are seeing in this world, it could be related to some of the aspect. That is what they are trying to say in the second point. Moving forward to the third point, logically correlate collection of data with inherent meaning. What is the meaning of it? Guys, if I'm collecting the data, so logically the data should be relevant. So that is what you need to remember with respect to the third point. There should be a relevance with respect to the logical data what you have. What is the meaning of it? So if I'm storing the login and logout time. So guys, if I'm writing the login and logout time, what is the meaning? Sir, imagine there is a student. I'm taking the attendance. Suppose, it should not happen. Some of the student is dead. I mean, like he or she got expired, and I'm marking that as a present. Is it logically relevant data what I have there? No, right? So whenever you are storing the data, logically it should be relevant. So that is what you need to remember whenever you're storing the data in the database. That is what this point says. And the next point is all about, it is built for a specific purpose. If I have a database, so why should I have a database? So to retrieve the data. So what is the reason behind it? If I'm maintaining the database of a student, there should be a purpose for it. So each database will have a specific purpose. Why are you storing the data? So that is what this point is speaking about. And the last point that I have is, can you give me an example for a database? Of course, Amazon is the biggest database. And also we have Facebook. You can just go back and check, you will get all the data from the day one. They are storing your data from the day one. Amazon, Facebook, Twitter, all of them are maintaining your data. I can call that as a database. This is a brief idea that you should have with respect to the database. In a simple word, the place where you store the data which is related. It is a collection of data which is related and it is built for a specific purpose is what you need to understand with respect to the database. Moving forward to the next point that I have some of the definitions that you need to understand. So in that, the first thing I would like to discuss with what is database management system. You have understood the meaning of database, but you have not understood the meaning of database management system. Now let's understand that. Database management system is a collection of programs. I repeat, database management system is a collection of programs. So why do I need this collection of programs? It is a set of programs. Why do I need this? Sir, you use a word called set of programs. Somewhere I remember I have read set of programs can also be a software. Yes, of course, this is a software. Okay, then what is that it is doing? Let's understand that. Listen to me carefully. Enables the user to create and maintain a database. If I want to create the database, if I want to store the data into the database, if I want to retrieve the data from the database, I have to use some collection of programs or a set of programs or a set of softwares. So that is what I will call it as a database management system. The next one that I have is all about defining a database. How do I define the database? Sir, what is the meaning of defining a database? How my database should look like is what I will call it as a defining a database. When it comes to the concept of defining a database, I will take care of few things. What is that? So listen to me carefully. Specify the data types. When you are storing the data, so you have to specify what type of data that you are trying to store. The second thing, you will specify the structures. How exactly you are trying to store. That is what I will call it as a structures. I will also call it as a schema, which I will be speaking about it little later. Remember this word schema. I will also specify the structure. First, I have to specify the data type. Then I have to specify the structure. So please remember, along with that, I will also have to specify the constraints, rules and regulations when I'm storing the data. So this is what I will call it as a defining a database. When I'm defining a database, I have to specify the structure. When I'm specifying the structure, I have to specify the type. Along with that, I have to set some rules before I store my data. Sir, what is the meaning of specifying the rules? Say, for example, I am trying to store the details with respect to the students, those who are joining the first PUC. Say, for example, I'm entering the column or I'm entering the data with respect to the age. When it comes to the age, if I enter 8, it is invalid data. I have to enter above 15 or 16. Only then the data should be entered or to be stored. Otherwise, it should show me an error. So that is what I will call it as a constraint. So all these things, say for example, that is about constraint. When it comes to the data type, so please listen. When I'm entering the age, I cannot enter something in words, right? I have to enter it in a numeric form. Of course, I can enter it in a alphabet, but I prefer to be enter in the integer. I have to specify what type I have to store. So that is what I have specified in the data type. When it comes to the structure, I will speak about it in detail in the coming topics. I think it will be too early for you if I discuss about the structures. Moving forward to the next one. Metadata. Sir, The next topic is all about metadata. What exactly metadata is all about? When it comes to the concept of metadata in the sense it is a data about the data. You have the textbook, correct? You have the textbook. In that, all of you would have saw or you would have used something called content or index page, where you will have the chapter name and the page number, correct? So if you just look at the chapter number or the chapter name and you will take the page number and directly you will go to that particular page, correct? The index is a metadata. It is the data about the data what you have inside the chapter. So this is what I will call it as a metadata. The next one that I have is all about manipulating a database. Manipulating the database in the sense what? First of all, I should have the data in the database. Only then I can manipulate. So if you want to modify anything in the database, so that is what I will call it as a manipulating the database. So how do I do it? So please listen. So with the help of the query, I already spoke about the query, right? So I should use the language in which the database will understand. So you are encountering the new word called query. Sir, what is this query? Okay, before I go to that, so please tell me what is your name? I'm asking you some question, right? So what is your name? So guys, asking something is what I will call it as query. I'm querying something. So I should ask the database, give me this. Okay, with the help of the query, I will be trying to interact with the database is what you need to understand. So please listen, query and update will help me to manipulate the data that I have in the database. That's what you need to remember. And also I can generate the reports. Generate the reports will help me to summarize the data what I have. So that is possible with the manipulating the database is what you need to remember here. Moving forward to the next one, sharing a database. Oh, it's one of the most important thing that you need to understand. I will be able to share my data with multiple people simultaneously. Multiple people can view the same data at a time. That is possible with the database. Imagine I have one file or one note. How many people can read my notes at a time? Only one, because it's a hard copy that I have. But just imagine if I have a soft copy and I have uploaded in the database, everybody can access at the same time. So that is the advantage that we have sharing a database. And now I have the next one, that is application program. What exactly application program is all about? So listen to me carefully. Access the database by sending the queries to the DBMS. If I want to access anything from the database is a place where we store the data, but I need to tell what I want. How do I tell? With the help of the query, I will tell. So who will understand that query, what I have told? So one software is required to understand what is that I need. So that software will understand what I'm asking for, and then it will go for a database and it will fetch and it will give it to you. That is what I will call it as a application program, or you can also call it as a software, which in turn I will call it as a DBMS. The next one, query. I think I have already discussed about the query. Moving forward, the next one I have is all about the transaction. Transaction in the sense what? So guys, I have already discussed about the transaction. Transaction which will cause reading or writing a data. Okay, that's what I will call it as a transactions. Protection includes, guys, it also provides the system protection and the security protection. That's a most important advantage that we have if we are using the database. So we get the protection for the system and we get the protection for the security. So the last topic for the day is all about maintain the database system. How do we maintain it? So guys, listen to me carefully. Allow the system to evolve and requirement changes over time. What is the meaning of it? As the system grows, as the system gets the updates, so it will allow to evolve with the updates, whatever is required. So that is what, or it allows to change or to do the modification with whatever we have. So that is possible with respect to the database. That is one of the most important points that we need to understand. To keep it very simple, it is entertaining you to do the modification according to the requirement which is needed for the updation. So that is what you need to remember with respect to the last point. And now I'm introducing all of you the architecture of a database management system, which will give you a better idea to understand what exactly database management system and how exactly it is working. Let's look into that diagram. So guys, just look at this diagram. This is very, very beautiful diagram, which will give you the complete idea how exactly it is working. I want all of you to spend a little time on this. Just look at this diagram. Hope you'll take the screenshot of it. All right, let me talk about this. So first, how exactly it happens. So this is the place. Whenever you see this kind of symbol, okay, so you need to understand we use this symbol to store the data, okay. Where we store the data? In a database. Whenever I'm writing this symbol, you need to understand this is a database. So database in the sense, obviously, I will be storing the data. So here, I have stored the data, and here I have stored the metadata. Okay, I have stored the metadata. So I have the data about the data. So you need to understand here. I have two databases. In that, the first database stores the metadata, and here I store the data. So fine, you understood this. Now, coming back to this, a user program. User program in the sense what? Imagine I'm the user. So I am using one program called SQL. Let us imagine I'm using a program called SQL. Program in the sense software. So guys, understand this. Using this program, I will write the query. Using this program, I will write the query. So please understand this. Using this program, I will write the query. So that query, what it contains, what is that I wanted to do, I have specified in that query. What I wanted to do, I have specified that in that query. Whether I want to insert the data, or whether I want to retrieve the data, or whether I want to modify the data, whether I want to update the data, what you wanted to do, you have specified that in the query. That is what you need to understand. So that is application program. That's what you need to remember. So fine. Once you are done with writing the query, so that will come to the next part. So that is what I will call it as the DBMS software. So what it does, the first, whatever the query that you have sent, that will come to the software, and that query will get processed. What is the meaning of processed? The software will understand what you wanted to do if the query syntax is correct. You have to give it correctly, software will understand. So now the software is trying to understand what you wanted to do. Say for example, I want to read some data. Okay, that is what I have mentioned it in the query. So fine, the software will process the data and it will understand the query, what exactly that you're trying to do. So after that, so it will send that to the next software. So this software will try to access what you wanted to do, what you wanted to access. Okay, so when I want to retrieve some data from the database, that information will be given to this software, and this software will try to read the data using this metadata and also using this database. So it will fetch the data and then it will give it back to the user. This is how the database system is working, or database management system is working for all of you. With this, hope you have understood a brief knowledge about the database management system. So by saying this, don't miss out the next session. It's going to be very interesting. So I will come up with a lot of examples to make you understand this subject in a better way. Till then, take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.